The nice thing about programming this way is we get to test things out with a very small amount of code before we paste it into our main program. And sometimes we don't even want to paste it into the main program. We might leave it separate in a library and just use it. Like I said, I will show that sort of process at the very end of what we're doing. At the moment, I'm just going to develop in this test file until I'm happy with what happens, and then I'm going to integrate it with my main program. So what we're doing now is we've printed the menu on the screen. That is finished. Apart from maybe having more options and more choices, the menu is finished. It's a procedure, it's over. What I want to do now is get the selection from the user, whatever they select, 1, 2, 3 or 4. And in this function, it is a function because we return a value, choice. I set choice to be the empty string to begin with. I'm going to change that now, but I might come back to it a little bit later and reuse it depending on what errors I get. Now, choice is going to be asking the person to, as we've said, enter a number between 1 and 4 and then press enter. So that you may think is a numeric value, and we could use a numeric value. In fact, if we did, it would be easier to check than if they typed 1 in as a string. So let's just do that. And if we're going to do a numeric value, we need to input a value, and we need a string inside here. And all I am going to do, because we've got this message on the screen, please enter a selection, I'm just going to put an arrow on the screen indicating where the user should type. Now, if I put a space in there, when the person sees it on the screen, they'll be tempted to backspace it to get rid of it. So I'm just leaving it right at the end of the arrow. So that is going to be the choice that they make. The other way that we could do it is, instead of having this print statement at the bottom of the menu, I could take that out. Just grab the whole string, cut it, and put that inside. And give some indication where they are meant to type by placing that there. So that's fine. I've left that print statement here because I do need a gap. I'm going to take that new line out. I do need a gap between the menu and what we're pressing. Let's see how easy it is just to move things around. So now this is going to work. Somebody's going to have a choice, and to see it working, all I need to do is put print choice here. So when I run my program, what's going to happen is going to run show menu, the procedure. It's going to come here, do this line, that line, that line, that line. So it's going to show all of this on the screen. And it's going to come down to this line. It's going to go to choice equals get selection. So it does this bit first, the get selection. So it will come here. It will ask the user what their choice is. Please enter a selection and then press enter. That will be returned to the main program on this line, which will then set this value to choice. And we are just going to print that out to the screen just to make sure it worked. So let's run that program. Whoops. And see it working. So here we go. Please enter a selection 1 to 4. Notice where the cursor is flashing. Because I never put a space, there's no need to backspace it. I'm going to make an error. I'm going to put, well, I want 5. And it's happy, it just prints 5 out. So I've got to do some validation on here to make sure that they can only press a value between 1 and 4, and that it's an integer. I don't want them to be able to type in 1.1 or A. Now, I want to show you what happens if we try to type in a letter when we're expecting a number. So if I run it again, Please enter your choice. I'm going to type A. It crashes. And I want to prevent that from happening as part of my validation. So in other words, if they type in something ridiculous like A, I want it to keep asking them to input the value. So we can sort of manage that with that try and accept that we saw before. We can try asking them for, let's just use this indent. We can try asking them for what their choice is. If they type a letter, the computer will crash and then it will run this line of code, except. And we can type out print, please enter a valid number. Now that isn't everything, because it's only going to do it once. It's not going to keep repeating it at the moment. We will look at that shortly, but let's make sure that we've stopped that error message happening if we typed in a letter, and it will give us a message instead. So if I run it again, so I'm going to type A this time and I get please enter a valid number, but I do get this local variable choice reference before assignment. Now remember I said I might use this, assign it to nothing before we try to return it. Often happens like this, so let's save it and run that one again. Now this time I won't get that error message at all, but it's not asking me to show the menu again. Now I've got a choice. I can either keep doing it in here, or I can keep trying until my choice is a correct value at this point in my program. So I can either do it in here, check it, or I can do it here. That's to be decided later. So at the moment, we've got a menu, procedure. We've got a return here, making this into a function. We've got our main program, which runs the procedure with nothing to, no equal sign, so nothing is returned, so there's nothing that needs to be captured. We've got choice equals here, because this is a function and we'll return a value, and then we're just printing it out to show what we've got. So we've started our validation. In other words, we've now limited them to a numeric input, but we could actually have a silly numeric input. So again, I know I can't use a letter, that's fine, but what happens if I use 3.1? It's okay with it, it comes back as 3.1. I only want the integer, so if they haven't typed in an integer, I don't want that to happen. So I've got a little bit more validation to do, and we'll start looking at that in the next video.